right, here we go. I'm rolling on my end. It's all happening.
Hi, this is That Funny Podcast. Is it that funny? Only time will tell. My name is Jared Miller.
I'm Matt Sky.
Hello, I'm Lance Weiss.
I really thought it was Weiss.
Yeah, it's it sounds German maybe. Weiss.
Like, are you trying to hide? Because they know.
Well, we're off to a hilarious start here on That Funny Podcast.
I'm gonna let you know. It doesn't matter what I do. They know. They're like, yeah. I'm sorry. We can tell with your heritage, and it's like
He's got that kind of weird cropped haircut and everything going on there. I haven't wanted to speak. But.
Oh, yeah. You're really trying to hide.
Oh, yeah.
If you're doing the buzz cut,
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought you guys in because I didn't think we were being even that funny to begin with, but now having you guys here, it really feels we're really not doing enough funny.
You got to bring in top-notch pro comedians.
But you guys are comedians, and I think that really means a lot to me because starting this company was about having humor, not so much in everything we do, but just how we approach things. I always found comedians, improv artists, actors have been just more open to suggestion, open to new ideas, and coming with a creative. The writer's room, I had an old sketch comedy group at a point, and having that writer room for me was the ability to say nothing you say is wrong, and it only will lead to what will be eventually right.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the essence of it, right? When you're looking at comedy, and there's a lot of similarities between comedy and marketing, the idea is finding the absurd, finding the unusual, unpacking the story. And a great comedian, just like a great marketer, is a storyteller at his core.
It really is. And Lance, you've been doing stand-up for how long?
I've been doing stand-up I took off for a couple years when the pandemic started, but total it would be about 20 years. So I did 15 up until the pandemic, and then I'm getting going again as of recently.
And you were doing marketing as well.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of. I've written for a few different agencies, up to a million brands, with the agencies and also just independently. Before I was working at agencies, so I've kind of bounced around with some different stuff.
Yeah, Matt, you as well.
A lot of mixed projects, across the board. Comedy, production, interviewing, journalism. And I think sometimes in life, we always talk about connecting the dots after the fact. You don't realize how it all synthesizes.
Yeah.
But here at That Funny Agency, I'm able to take everything and apply it in some weird, bizarre place.
You're not the first to kind of even say that, with bringing the team together in the way that we did, and some people have been here, some people have left, and other people have come back. And it's always, we're sort of attracting, I think, going back to that storyteller motif or that mindset, in that no matter, we're telling a story of how AI is transforming our industry, or we're telling a story about how local SEO is more important to your small business, whatever. You have to tell it in a story that people can relate to, and sometimes that story is told in different mediums. So as we're doing a podcast, which is really kind of exciting, we're also taking this material and we're then going to divide it out over multiple ways of telling that story, and I think that's, and I don't think it's also a coincidence that stand-up has really kind of had a little bit of a resurgence lately.
For sure.
Especially with as TikTok and Insta stories kind of grow, you're seeing more and more little bits, little ways of communicating, because I think even comedians are understanding that they need to be a brand.
I think they're seeing that they need to be a brand, and I think from the audience standpoint, people want authenticity. You were just talking about AI, and I think we're seeing in marketing so much of the same. Everyone's trying to fit the algorithm. Everyone's trying to create something that's momentum of a story that's already been told. So I think when an audience sees a comedian, they think, oh, I want to see someone's perspective. I want to see someone make a choice. And we were talking about this a little bit off camera. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. You were talking about making bold choices. Even if it's not always the right choice, making a choice is something really big in this world, I think.
You don't want to just necessarily throw spaghetti against the wall, right? You're going to look at data, you're going to look at what worked before, what other people have done, and you're saying, okay, this is my best bet. However, you have to take it to the next level, right? So if you see these TikToks where an actor is playing all the parts, right? Okay, now I've seen enough of them to be like, well, what's next, right? So who is going to go with the next trend or whatever is going to happen? Brands, you can see brands sometimes sort of piggybacking on that, and they're always behind. You're always seeing brands sort of behind whatever the trend is, and they're trying to capture whatever it is, and it's like, yeah, a little too late. You know, the Harlem Shuffle, you're like a couple years now past its due. But I do think that there are other people that take a moment to transform their stance in the world. Liquid Death to me is like the perfect example of that. It's bottled water, right? And on their bottles, it's crazy. It's like, how many different ways you can die? It's like, what?
Yeah.
And you know, you wouldn't expect it to be so successful, yet they are, I think, number one, number two.
They're massive, yeah.
And taking a bold choice like that is even how we started That Funny Agency. It's like, That Funny Agency? Like, what name is that, right? It's like, when my old partner and I, we would talk about it, he's like, get That Funny Agency on the phone. You know, it's like, I was like, could have been another F word, really. You know, it's
Was
like,
that the origin? Was it
Well,
actually
yeah,
that someone didn't know your
yeah.
name and they just called you That Funny Agency?
Well, we didn't exist. We had a comedy. I was doing comedy videos and in my sketch group, and I had working at a agency in New York, and he said, you know, we could do this on our own, and I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you could do like comedy videos for like clients, and I was like, oh yeah, like get That Funny Agency on the phone. He goes, that's a great name. You should get that name. And I was like,
that 1930 cigar chopping.
yeah, very much. I was like, why didn't we think about this years ago?
Yeah, we got that funny guys over there. Huh?
Now we hear a siren going
Right,
on,
right.
and like the squad car, call car 22.
Yeah.
So there was the origin, and that is how it began.
Humble
now I'm
beginnings.
Batman.
I'll say what I like about. I got a lot of thoughts. What I like about That Funny Agency is that two things. Like I have a terrible attention span.
Yeah.
Like for instance, right now I'm on this microphone, just being like, and I'm also recording the audio. So my attention is trying to like make sure this audio is being captured. And funny is what keeps me engaged because, and this is with our life too. Like I'm engaged with recording this audio. I'm also cheating toward the camera. So moments of funny are what going to jolt me back into what we're doing right now. And for all of us, we're all on our phones. We're all on the internet 24/7. All of our attention is divided. For me, funny is the one thing that it brings me back to a reality of the moment. Because even while we're doing this, I'm thinking of other stuff. I'm looking at some other stuff on the wall over here. I'm trying to record this audio. I'm trying to cheat toward the camera for the shot to be correct. So for me, funny is the only way that when you guys say something funny, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in a podcast. It's the only way that connects me back into like a reality moment.
This is the world that we live in right now. I mean, it's an ADHD world. Like all of us are sort of struggling, I think, a lot with attention, and with the advent of new technologies that are quicker and quicker and quicker content, we know that comedy is really going to relate. And I kind of explained this. We were talking about this off camera, but it's not, again, not everything has to be funny. It just has to be human. And a human moment is either going to be something where you laugh at, or you know, it takes your breath away, like an aha moment. And you guys know, as being on stage, when you're doing a joke, the joke, laugh. And then as soon as they laugh, they're like riveted. It's like, what are you going to say next? Yeah. And I think the same way with an epiphany, right? And I try to make epiphany and funny.
Oh,
I
nice.
try to make that work. I still can't.
It's almost there, though. I can see it.
It's
I'm gonna play with
almost
it.
there.
Yeah.
It's almost there. But people,
Epiphany.
every time I pitch
They just
it to
think you
them,
spelled it wrong. Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's epiphany. They're like,
Yeah.
what is that?
Epiphany,
An
what?
EpiPen? Like,
Yeah.
you know. So I think the idea that you can kind of drive an audience up with excitement, make them laugh, you actually are getting that moment to convert. And that's how brands have to actually work. You think about sort of like the delight that like brands like Amazon or Timu, or you know, even Disney. It's like every little moment makes you excited for the next moment and keeps your attention.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to a point you were saying a minute ago about brands, or what about how everybody's trying to play catch up. Like you work at some of these big companies, some of these massive agencies and brands and corporations. Catch up is the only thing they can play, because there's 4,000 people that work on a product and it takes 6 years to come out. I don't know if this makes any sense. Like that, this is why I like this agency, because it's like we can turn stuff very quickly, very nimble. I know I'm kind of diverting into another point, but it's off what you were saying. Like we can divert very quickly into another pivot into another angle, another thing we need to get done. Where you work at some of these big agencies, it might take literally 3 years for one sentence to hit the billboard, you know, and
has to go through so many departments. No, it has to go through so many departments and so many layers of approval that even when there was a great idea from a creative, it gets so watered down by the time it finally gets.
And
back
you're playing
to the client.
catch up. You're playing catch up because you're behind the times. You can't, and you have so many people with inputs. You end up just chasing whatever was cool 2 years ago, which is crazy.
There's a philosophy that we used in software development, and most people know exactly where I'm going with this in terms of agile. As I grab the dirty, you know, whatever this is, throw it on the floor. Thank you. Sorry for the hosts. Agile development is a way to be able to pivot and be flexible. Usually they're done in 2-week sprints. It's a matter of story points. It's how fast you want to go. It's really about velocity. And the idea is to see what works and pivot if it doesn't. Or build upon that. You know, the yes and. And I think this kind of ties it together with the idea of, well, we can be agile, or TFA agile, as I call it, our methodology. We can bounce off of each other, the yes and moments, and realize, okay, not the best idea, pivot quickly, jump, start moving. Because the last thing you want to do is start running with a campaign for 3 months or 6 months, and it's not working. And I think that's where traditional media has kind of failed brands in the past. You had to commit. You had to commit to a buy, you had to commit to media spend, air spend, and you were like, I'm putting all this effort in, and hopefully it works. It's like the big Super Bowl ads. Oh, I really hope this works, because I'm putting all my money into it. And if it doesn't, yikes. I mean, there are stories of brands that did not survive from one Super Bowl to the next.
You know what's go ahead.
No, and I think that the idea of no, I will not continue on. No, how dare you interrupt this brilliant
This thing
thought.
just ends in a battle with a bat and everything.
Well, we do have enough weapons on here. Right?
Yeah,
We have a lightsaber, we have Thor's hammer, Mjolnir.
Yeah, we're pretty set for a battle here at the end of this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not a nerd, so I don't know what these guys are talking about.
Actually, technically the...
Sorry, it's in the name, Lance. Call back. The yes and moments to me are where we have to keep going. And in digital, you can go faster.
Yeah, and I think off what you're saying, you're when you get locked into something, you see some of these big companies or these big brands. I'm always amazed that a brand they'll spend 6 months on something, and you're like, that might have been $10 million. And they're like, we're scrapping it now. Because they were locked in for so long down this thing, and then they're like, now we can't do it. And you're like, I mean, I guess some of these massive corporations can blow. I don't want to do that. I don't want to work on something and not even see it come out either. That's not exciting to me to work for 6 months. Like, we're going to scrap that and move. Like, I know you have to sometimes, but there's a lot of waste, basically.
They are testing the product, right? So they are doing focus groups. They are doing that. But what's funny is that the audience sentiment would change. That audience, even if they tested with 2 months later, they may go, actually, I don't like it anymore.
Yes.
Because we all have ADHD and we keep changing very quickly.
Stanley Cups will not be around in a year. They won't. They will not be here in a year. They're cool now. It'll be the next cup.
I think, the thing is...
That's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. And that's sad.
Yeah, it'll be some other Wigaboo brand. Wigaboo, the new cup you got to have, or whatever it's
I think the biggest thing is it's like having a pulse. And this is why I think when we are that funny agency, being comedic, being actual artists makes a difference, because you can use data and you can use trends, but so much of what really uncovering a brand is a conversation with the brand. And sometimes you speak to a company and they don't fully know who they are yet. So we're just like material, just in the way that we test material, like the crowd, we're testing what works and we're hearing back what happens. So we're adapting through iterations what we want to present and become.
I've changed the logo now twice and the branding now 3 times. And we just settled on this really kind of exciting sort of retro but modern take on the, almost like the Bewitched theme or the old sitcom thing. And we didn't really even understand, I think, who we were. Until probably this year. I would say, when we brought you guys in, brought other people in, and I think that helped to sort of define how we see the world, because like you're saying, each brand has to have a point of view, right? You have some people call it the lifestyle brand, but I almost think it's like more of like a POV brand.
Yeah.
It's like, do I even see the world in the same way? And I think that's why Liquid Death sort of really kind of succeeds in this, in that they get it. They have an identity, and they are relating to people who then want that identity or have already tapped into their identity. It's like why we like some certain bands over others. Like Lance, his Nickelback obsession is just, it's insane.
You're actually close. My favorite band is Train. By a mile.
No.
Yeah, I think Train is the greatest band of all time.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding you. No, it's not like a bit I'm doing. Like they're
legit,
my
it's
favorite
legit, yeah.
band.
I can't move my arms right
Yeah.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
Actually, for the record.
Yeah, here we go. You had like a few Train songs, and here they go. And there'll be way more than you think.
And I was like,
Get on
I
this
listened
train.
to one the other day, and I was like singing along.
Which song?
I forgot.
They have way more hits than people realize. This is the whole thing. Meet Virginia. That was one of their first ones.
That's Train?
Yes, my point exactly. The greatest band of all time.
Yeah, I never even. I
Meet
just think of it as
Virginia.
radio.
It's still a hard thing to say.
Drops of Jupiter, another classic.
That's okay.
Another classic. Calling All You Angels, another huge one.
yeah.
If we're not going to get Train tickets by the end of this podcast, I'm really going to be disappointed.
Hey Soul Sister, which is not.
That's the song.
Yes, Train as well.
And
I can
I'm
keep
so-
going. This was my point. People don't realize how good the band
All
is.
right, let's get on this
It's
train.
a phenomenal band.
It's
It's a phenomenal band, and they have more, but they're way more.
If he's not being paid by them, I don't understand why.
They're the best band.
Oh, what do you think the best band is, Jared?
It's gonna say like AC/DC.
No, I'm not going to say AC/DC. I think the Beatles are the best band.
Really?
I
Okay.
really do. I
Yeah,
think the Beatles are Rolling Stones. I think everything derives from them, and it's not just me placating to the generation. It's just that what they were able to create. They have a channel. I mean, there's a few serious channels on there. I mean, I'm a Dead fan. I'm a Fish fan. I'm a
This is a
Springsteen
channel.
fan. This is a channel. This is a channel. I don't know how many hit albums we're gonna have, but I would say that the Beatles just defined for me storytelling, and they created like an identity immediately. You knew a Beatles song. In fact, when that new album dropped, and there was or it was a new album, but there was like unreleased songs. You're like, I was like, that's a Beatles song.
Yeah, it was immediately identifiable, and there was nothing like it prior.
No.
Yeah, and that's sort of, I guess that's sort of the theme. And even when we look at marketing again, that's the theme. How do you create something that no one has done before?
They were
Something
they were
unique.
really brilliant at the same way, grabbing, because as brilliant as us is where I was going.
course.
They were brilliant at grabbing from Chuck Berry, right? They were able to grab from blues. They were able to grab from different genres and sort of create of that. So it's, again, yes, and admiring what's happened before, but sort of building upon the next level. I mean, there was that terrible movie where the Beatles didn't exist. What was it called? It was like,
Oh yeah, I remember that from a
horrible,
few. Yeah,
horrible.
was it bad?
Interesting premise, but it was like, but one thing that really stood out to me, and that was pretty cool, was that because the Beatles didn't exist, other things didn't exist, like Oasis.
Yeah. Oh right, all the derivative. Yeah, I got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Still fun and boring. Anyway, Jared, so that funny agency, why? So for you as the founder, owner, head of this operation, why funny? There's a million angles you could go. You could go serious. You could go more.
That serious agency, I don't think it has quite the same.
they are
I think
terrible.
that's quite
By
the
way,
same. That serious agency
By the
isn't
way,
very good.
jokes aside, we called our finance and operations department that serious agency.
Oh wow. Thought I was just making that up. I didn't know that was actually a thing.
It was like
Very creative
We have to have
branding.
a call with that serious agency.
Yeah.
But why comedy for you? Like Jared Miller, why comedy? What hits you? Where does it hit you? I guess.
I mean, I've been attracted to comedy since I was a kid, listening to, and I know he's been canceled, but Bill Cosby and Eddie Murphy, and listening to Stephen Wright, and sort of like the one-offs, the jokes, the storytelling.
Yeah.
But then for me, going into acting, I did acting for a while. I had a comedy group, and I always kind of saw this as like a part of my life. Humor for me was always just the most human element of human being. And that's weird. The most human of human beings, but I think
Makes
it's
sense.
true.
Why? What does it do inside of you?
Joy. It is the every ounce of me is sort of like enjoying. I love stand-up comedy. I love SNL. I love comedic films, Monty Python and Mel Brooks. I mean, all of these sort of like were part of my DNA. And I always knew that when I created something in the future, comedy would be a part of it. I wasn't as bold to be able to do what you guys can do, which is get up on
As
stage.
dumb, basically, is more.
It's vulnerable, right? You're exposing like the most vulnerable parts of you, and sometimes a little too many times.
Yeah, Lance.
Yeah, really.
Okay, yeah.
Lance.
Enough nudity in comedy.
I don't know, picking on jokes. I love you to death.
When does the podcast start?
But for real,
Yeah.
comedy and why it's called That Funny Agency is not the forefront of what we do with our clients. Again, funny is just saying this is different, this is changing, and to me, it was always funny to me that we were billing clients unnecessarily at other agencies I was at. We bill by the hour, and I'd say, "Why are we billing by the hour? Why am I billable? I'm an account director." And they'd say, "Well, no, we're trying to get as much money from the client as possible." I was like, "Wow, your thought is to get as much money from them instead of how much money we can make for them." Their bottom line, it's backwards. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be funny if we cared about their bottom line rather than ours? I can hear my CFO getting really mad at me, but
Yeah.
but still, and only focus on work that's actually going to produce results. And I think that that's funny, that that's really not the forefront for many agencies even today. Sure. I do see a revolution happening. I do see a lot of really awesome agencies that are in our ecosystem that are really kind of grabbing it. But again, we're now combining real humor, real comedy, hopefully this is funny, but real artists doing the work with the idea that we're going to focus on you rather than AI or we're just trying to make as much money as possible from the client. And to me, this is what's funny. It's like, okay, then we're going to stand alone and we're going to be the Beatles. Oh, the hell. You see that?
Yeah, your mic just changed positions somehow.
This is what's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like we were in the presence of somebody, maybe like a supernatural power.
Right.
Is it your ancestors? Are they here?
Well, I think it's that Bewitched concept when you just pause the camera and then someone suddenly disappears or reappears. So you just kind of go like this.
Where did he go? Oh no.
And that was it. So, I mean, really, intense special effects to pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does that answer the question though?
I think so. Yeah. I think. I'm not a business person by any means.
But you're a writer, and
Yeah.
good.
No. But like, I like to create. I'm more curious, like comedy. So you like SNL, you like stand-up, you name like what does it do to you? You're talking more about the brand or the business,
Sure.
but comedy, where does it when you hear the Stephen Wrights, when you watch SNL, what does it do for you as Jared in your heart, in your why?
Yeah.
What is it doing to you?
Yeah, look, there's the chemical response, which is the endorphin rush, right? There's the idea of the science of happiness, which is you hear something that brings you joy, it makes you feel better, right? So your hormones are flowing, you're feeling great. It's like, oh, that was funny. That gave me something. Yeah. But I think more importantly, it's when you hear something that is either true, it's funny because it's true. It's funny or because it's not true. It's funny because it's silly. Yeah. And we don't do funny because it's mean. But I think when it's funny because it's true, really resonates, and it's like learning another piece of the universe. It's really almost discovering something. You're like, wow. Yeah. And it changes your entire paradigm, the way that you see things. Sure. It opens up your eyes. You go, that makes so much sense. I never thought of it like that before. And you have now being able to look at the world again with fresh eyes. So what comedy does to me is constantly refreshes the way I see the world and allows me to be hopefully empathetic, that I can relate to other people, hear other people's situations, and maybe be a little bit gentler, in my life. Because I think that sometimes we all have our moments of, being maybe a little bit too aggressive or angry. And comedy is that way of diluting that, just to take that away. I also think that when you laugh, you live longer.
That's proven, I think.
It is proven.
There's a lot of science behind that, actually, yeah.
Well, we see it in. Well, I was going to say we see it in comedy shows. I mean, you take audiences where you think everyone might disagree on everything, and yet when you have everyone laughing at the same joke, even if they don't agree with the perspective, people are just finding a certain unity in being able to laugh at the absurdity of a viewpoint, and that's sort of the essence of great humor. I think it's the essence of great marketing. It's the essence of great branding. It's something where you just find some commonality, whether we're fully there or not. We come together at that one point.
It's funny because it's true for some people.
That's the line.
It's
always.
funny because it's not true for the others.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And in that weird way, we share this moment together. There's a unity,
Right.
even in the disagreement.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's connection is what you're connecting to another human and another, like, why we're here, and like we're actually all a lot more similar than we realize. And because you can't laugh at something, there's a comic. I don't know, do you guys know Sherrod Small?
Yeah, he's great.
He has a great line that he does on the stage. He goes, "It's funny because it's true."
Yeah.
Like comedy only works if you know things. Like, and it's something like that. Like maybe I'm paraphrasing. Maybe he only says one of those. I don't want to put words in another comic's mouth, but it's something along the lines like comedy only works if you know stuff. So it's a connection that if I know something, you know something, we're together on. We're in it. We're in as a team. Like, and that, I think that we can all feel alone in life for a million different reasons. But in that moment of comedy, it's like, I got you. It's us.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're together. We're doing it.
And in the same way, when we're approaching even work with a brand, it's the same sort of connection that you're looking for. A brand needs to be humanized, and if a brand is reaching out to someone and says, "I get you, I understand you." In fact, I talk about this with the team a lot. Like, I bring up Amazon, which, and everyone goes, "Yeah, but it's Amazon." I go, "It's Amazon. You're buying everything from there because you feel connected to them. It's like they get you, and you're like, I just feel so good when I buy something. I'm just gonna keep buying more and more, and it just feels so good.
It's like Christmas every day.
Every day I'm getting a new package."
Right.
I literally had one this morning. I was like, "What did we get? What did we
We
get?"
had a bunch of stuff yesterday.
and it was like for my son. I was like, "God damn it!"
Yeah, I mean they just. I mean we can edit whatever, but I don't like the ethics of Amazon by a million. But the customer experience
It's
or
the
whatever.
customer experience.
My God, what do you want right now? You want a sofa, Matt? You want 85 bottles of soda tomorrow? We will have it here tomorrow at the door. Like that. It's amazing that whatever you want to. Do we need 75 chairs? Whatever we need. We want to blow up Santa here. We'll have it tomorrow at the door.
In fact, it's what is, I think, even more nefarious, like you were even kind of pointing out, is that because they can create this on-demand, need, this on-demand generation, everybody else is suffering, right? I have a brand that I love called Heather's Tummy Fiber Powder, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It's a acacia blend, and it's, for IBS, but it's for anybody who's really just trying to make their system feel good.
It's not for growing your hair, I'll tell you that.
Definitely not. Heather's different fiber. But they had to stop selling on Amazon because they were just getting crushed. And they said, we cannot do this. I'm sorry, we're pulling back. We need to sell this. And they emailed everyone directly. And they said, we're pleased. We hope you still love our stuff. We just really need to create this. I wrote back to them, because I do, and I go, I will always buy from you. You guys are doing such a great job. I get it. It's not fair. They're sort of taken away from you. And their experience isn't great, but they're working on it. They're working on sort of bettering their experience for their shopping. But I said, I'm committed to you because I love your product. And you reached out and said, this is a human moment. Heather herself said, this is a human moment. And when I wrote back and told her, she wrote back. And she says, oh my God, I'm trying to respond to every email. I apologize if it was delayed a week, 2 weeks. I was like, that's not delayed for a response. And she was so kind to say, thank you so much for supporting us. And I'm really just trying to make this thing work. And I'm like, this is the CEO and the creator of this brand reaching out. And then again, I said, you are a lifesaver. No, literally, I know someone that this saved their lives. And she was like, wow, thank you for letting me know. Again, a dialogue that you're having with a brand. So yes, it might take longer, but because I now have a human connection with her, I'm loyal.
Oh, forever. You're till death as a customer. Yeah.
Which will never happen because I'm taking
exactly. Yeah.
Let me ask, I think this is a great segue into the propagation of AI in our industry right now. A lot of people, I think, are relying on it. Obviously, it's a tool that we utilize at that funny agency. We encourage our clients to use it properly. But we try to balance the human connection and the human editorial process. We don't just rely purely on AI or ChatGPT or something. What are your thoughts on AI? How should we be implementing it? How do we strike that balance here?
I mean, it's the question that everyone is trying to find out right now. I think prompt creation is where the artist still gets to be involved. There are going to be brands that are going to use generative AI, the tools out there, to create their own emails, their social media posts, even images and some written word, and that's going to happen. To me, you are just pulling from what people have done in the past. We already know this. It's pulling from what's happened.
Right.
It's not really extrapolating like new. So pushing the boundaries, I don't see AI doing that. However, and all of us are using it to really make our lives easier. You know, I don't necessarily use them for emails, but for contracts. And I'm like getting all the information. I have a conversation with a client. I can record it. And then my ChatGPT understands exactly how I write contracts because it's learned how I do it. And I say, hey, adjust what I've done, what we've done before based upon this conversation. Remember that this is a smaller budget. They don't need all of these things. So just filter out. And I'm talking to AI as if I'm talking to somebody who works for me in the same way, right? And please create this. And it's there. Now, is it perfect? No, it's like 80%. Usually for me, it's about 80%. Mm-hmm. The human being has to go back in and tweak it and rewrite it, and also make sure that the language is really coming from your voice. Even in a contract form, which could be as dry as anything, it shouldn't be. It should still be, it should be written as a human being who writes it and be conversational and understand. I get it, there's legalese and yada, 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 but I do think that there's a way to communicate what you want from the client in an SOW from your point of view using a tool like a ChatGPT, for example. Do I want my team creating artwork from AI? No. Do I want them writing humor from it? No. Mm-hmm. Do you need it to punch up a joke? All right.
Right. So it's like you're still in control, basically.
Right.
It's your assistant, not the other way around. You're
even
not
in film,
it.
and you even talked about this before, but like even in film and creating sort of backdrops or something, you know, if you're creating a motion graphics or something, and you're like, there's an AI tool to sort of texturize, where it just saves you time, but it was your idea to texturize in this way. How is that different from using any other tool that you have anyway? You're just doing it faster. And to me, it means you can create more art. So governance is important in that the original idea to me should still come from the human. And then you can use the tools and how you need it to adjust. How you want to then let it sort of do more for you, I don't know. But like this original, you know, our Willy, or the donut, right? And to me, Willy was created by a human being, not by AI. Even I said I want a talking donut, right? Walking, talking donut. And she gave me like 6-7 choices that she created. And I was like, nope, that's the one. Now, could we feed this in and say, I want more Willys based upon this? Is that not her art? Are we cheating in that we're saving hours in creating a Willy with different stances and stuff like that? Now I want Willy in France. I don't know, you know.
Right.
I don't think they eat donuts in France, but still, they should, you know.
It's a little
Éclair.
croissant, buddy, yeah.
Éclair, exactly.
Yeah.
The croissant.
That was not real French.
No. Pepe Le Pew. That's all I got.
Saying is if AI,
I think a little racist. Sorry.
all I'm saying is that if AI will give me a couple more Willies, I'm all for AI.
Dang.
So I think that
No, but
kind of creates.
I think you made a great point, though, in the sense that we're guiding AI. And in a sense, AI used properly gives truly creative people a platform they never had before.
Absolutely.
And that's something that our agency focuses on, is true creativity.
Yeah.
Yes, you have teams of thousands of people. And at this point in history, maybe they are the operators in terms of having many, many, many departments and many designers, and it's like very industrial. AI is going to automate a lot of that process.
Yep.
So it's going to put more value on true creatives than ever before, and it's going to let our imaginations run wild to create any idea we want to create for our clients.
We talked about this before, but the perfect example is this is an original conversation, right? There's no scripts on either of these. We actually didn't even know where we were
probably should have had one.
We probably should have had one. We rambled. But you can definitely clear this is not written by AI. But we're going to take this material and, again, repopulate it out based upon the points that were made. And the fact is we can do it quicker, right? And not listen over and over and over again and be like, oh, what can I extract here? No, that's where it's going to help, because we have to be quicker. We have to get out there. And I think this sort of like maybe sort of put a button on what we've done today on our first episode is brands have to think quicker.
Yeah.
And you can't just be waiting around for a focus group to give you an answer, which they're going to change in a month anyway. So why not get this material out? We just recorded this. Let's get this out as quickly as possible and see what happens. Now, what is it? It's June 21st, right? Let's see how fast we can get this out. No pressure at all, Justin. Into the different the email campaigns and social posts and even a blog post eventually on our site. But I think that's the whole point is we need to do it now, like Amazon, the user experience as quickly as possible, getting it out. And I think that's where That Funny Agency really thrives.
And it's actually April 21st, but we're giving ourselves 2 months to,
2023.
That's how this is movie magic is.
No, actually, I should have said it's
Right.
April 21st, 2025.
Yeah.
So that when it comes out earlier, you're like, how did they do that?
Yeah, right.
It's Back to the Future. All right. Thanks, guys, very much on this inaugural episode or revamp of That Funny Podcast.
Yes, also, what an incredible first episode. I will be liking, subscribing, hitting the like button, sharing, all those things that they make you do. And we'll do it. I'm going to do it, and it's doing it.
Thank you guys very much. And I realize now I have never been focusing on the camera because I've been focusing on
I think
guests.
that was good. It was a bit that I've been doing this entire thing that Dan and I have been coordinating. It'll just be cuts of my head looking toward the thing with weird, so.
What? By the way, I think we're good. Thank you guys. Yeah.